European empires are empires of oppression. The American empire will be an empire of liberty for everybody. And, or Tom Paine in Common Sense. The United States is the asylum for mankind. Anybody in the world seeking to escape oppressive government, oppressive conditions, can find a homeland in the United States. That's why Paine says the American Revolution is not just one little place throwing off another, it is a world historical event. It creates a nation dedicated to liberty. And yet, of course, 500,000 slaves are in the colonies in 1776. This is one of my favorites. This is a runaway slave ad that Thomas Jefferson put in a Virginia newspaper, okay, in 1769. Sandy, run away from the subscriber, a mulatto slave called Sandy. The Southern press was full, and by the way, the New York press too, was full of notices like this, runaway slave ads, which are very useful for historians in that they give physical descriptions of the slaves, their skills, any identifying marks, scars, language abilities, anything that can help you identify this person. But here is Thomas Jefferson, the father of American liberty, seeking to get back Sandy, who ran away from Jefferson, and indeed Sandy was recaptured and then sold. Even though Jefferson didn't like to buy and sell slaves, he did sell Sandy, who had run away. At the Continental Congress, where the Declaration of Independence was written by Jefferson, in his original draft, he included a clause condemning slavery, but in a sort of indirect way. You know, the Declaration of Independence begins with the immortal preamble about the rights of mankind. Then it descends into, well, up here on the West Side, we're used to this, just a lot of kvetching, you might say, against George III. Kvetch, kvetch, kvetch. George III has done this. George III, give us a break already, you know. George III has done all these horrible things. One of the things George III did was to somehow deprive Africans of their liberty. So wait a minute, what about all these guys who are owning them and running plantations? Well, no, because at some point the Virginians tried to reduce the number of slaves being brought in. They thought the slave population was growing so big it was a danger, and the British vetoed that law because they made too much money off the slave trade and they didn't want the colony. So, all right, this George III is responsible for all this. Well, it's not in, that clause is not in the final version of the Declaration of Independence. Why not? Because Georgia and South Carolina objected to it. They didn't want anything which suggested there was anything wrong with slavery. Now, if you ever saw the musical 1776, they burst into song about this. There's a whole song about this clause. This is not historically accurate. The delegates did not sing about it, but nonetheless, the fact is that, it's not in there. But in